Season 1 finale.
Da-na-na.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're at episode 15. So, all right. We started this journey back on my birthday. On my 36th birthday was our launch. January 2nd. That was our launch. So we've been at this for 4 months and 2 days of putting podcasts out.
Wait, hold on. Let me check that math.
Check that math. We got it. Carry the one.
Okay.
Got it. Now, we came to a point, we're very intuitive here at the Great Imposters Podcast, and we wanted to take a break to kind of go over the first 15 episodes, like really digest it, what we've done, and then really like intentionally move forward with our next batch of episodes.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing here. We're going to do a little wrap up. We're going to have some really fun questions today.
Yes.
And it's just your girls, Annie and Joe.
It's just your girls.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think too, like we went a lot quicker than we even thought we were capable of getting the 15 episodes out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, kudos to us.
Yeah, pat on the back.
Yeah, but now we are going to spend some time like brainstorming, looking at the 15 episodes we've done, like looking at kind of not holes we need to fill per se, but like what are the other sort of angles of imposter syndrome and the other interesting pieces of content that we can bring to y'all in the next set of episodes.
And also, if you're hearing this now, there's probably going to be a couple of weeks hiatus if you listen like when we launch.
Yeah.
So take this as your opportunity to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, go back. It's so fun to listen. I'm kind of jumping ahead to like what have we learned, but it's so fun to listen to the first couple episodes when it was just us at like my kitchen counter with my equipment I ordered off Amazon trying to figure out how to do a podcast.
Audio quality, not the best.
Yeah, not the best audio quality. Like you had to use GarageBand to just like fully turn up one of our tracks at one point. On one episode, we shared a microphone because the other microphone broke.
Yes. We were just like hovering over one.
Before Chris Wilder's episode, which I think is episode 6, I dropped a microphone in my basement on the concrete floor and broke it.
And I came in and Annie was crying.
And I was crying because she was showing up in like 30 minutes.
Yes.
So that just gives you a good idea of like how far we've come.
We've come to the couch.
Now we're with Dex.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Our last few guests have called us, quote, professional, unquote.
Quote, unquote.
So
professional.
What a journey.
What a journey. So Annie and I are just going to have some fun and just like talk to each other. We have a list of questions. Don't worry. This isn't just going to be like an episode of a conversation, like a random conversation. So we have a really fun guide here today, but Annie has ambushed me with a icebreaker that she hasn't told me about. And I wasn't really given that heads up to think of one. So let's just see how this goes. Annie, hit me with your icebreaker.
But to quote the great Joelle Goldstein, it's not that fucking deep. This icebreaker, so don't worry.
That. It's not that fucking deep. That is something I do say pretty often.
That is, it's one of my favorite quotes of yours.
Thank you.
Favorite Cowboy Carter track and least favorite Cowboy Carter track.
Oh my God.
Oh
my God. Fuck. That is so hard.
I know. I mean,
okay. I'm going to go with first, like instinct. So I do think there are no skips on this album. And I am very like, just to orient the listeners, I am like OG Beehive, like forever and always. I've always been a massive Beyonce fan. Like she's my holy grail of an artist and a woman. I love every song on the album for different reasons. I will say the song Protector brought me to my knees as a mother.
Yeah.
And I can't even talk about it without wanting to cry. Like it's so beautiful. It's so poetic. It's so meaningful. And so many of the songs on the album are like that. But that song in particular, like, whew, I can't even think about it without getting chills all over my body. So I'll say that. I think the worst song in the album is Texas Hold'em. I love the song. It's just like, it's kind of in the same vein as like, what was the album where Taylor put Me out as her?
Which Me was like, just to dig more in this, like Me was like a a family-friendly song.
Yeah, but it was a really not good song.
Yeah, it was awful. But like a lot of people probably listened to it
with their kids in the car. Yeah, it was radio friendly.
It was radio friendly, and then Texas Hold'em, I guess, is like she predicted the virality of that.
Correct.
And like the dance routines and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's I would say that's my least favorite song on the album because every song is so good.
Because you're so fucking deep.
Because I'm so fucking deep, and like every song was truly meaningful though.
Yes.
So we could do an episode on Cowboy Carter, but we're not going to because that's not what our podcast is about. But why don't all right, you know what? I'm going to turn it around on you then because I didn't have one prepared. What's your favorite?
Okay. I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. Sometimes you just got to ask someone the question you want to be asked yourself,
yes.
you know? Okay. I think there are no skips except I cannot stand the song Riverdance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one's not my favorite either.
And like, what is it? Dex has it pulled up. It's like track, I don't know, it's towards the bottom, towards the end of it. That whenever that one comes on, it's like, I'm like vibing. I'm like in my kitchen. I'm like vibing. And then Riverdance comes on and I'm like, wait, where did we go? Where are we?
I agree with you. That's not my favorite either.
Okay.
What is your favorite?
My absolute favorite is The Two Most Wanted with Miley Cyrus.
Oh, well, yes, that's going to go down in history,
Yes.
that song.
Yes.
It's so good.
And then my mind is so on like, I'm very like politically, what's the word I'm looking for? Active focused right now. Like I feel like I have a renewed focus on that because of some of the stuff that's happening in Tennessee. And so the songs Yeah Yeah and American Requiem are like, I'm like picturing that. Actually, one of our guests of episode 11, Miriam Abulfazli, just announced she's running for Congress.
Vote.
And I'm thinking about like her campaign and I'm like American Requiem playing in the background.
Oh my God, chills.
Yeah.
American Requiem is a sick song.
It's so good.
Oh my God.
And I saw Maren Morris on Tuesday. She did a little benefit show in East Nashville. God, how cool did I just sound?
You sounded so cool. I've never been there. Should I go to a show at Basement East?
Yeah, we should go. We should find someone. It's great. But she actually played American Requiem before she came out, and it was like it was just very like, because she's going through a requiem.
She is. Yeah.
It was
that's badass.
So good.
I love
it.
it.
Yeah, Riverdance. I'm like, I need there to be a documentary on this album for sure.
There's got to be.
But I want to know like why did you make that song?
Let's get some answers. Hey, B, if you're listening.
But I always want to know that, like, what happens on these absolutely solid albums where, like, there's one song that just sucks, and, like, I want to know, was it just, like, your producers pushed you to make that song?
Maybe.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay, yes.
Okay, let's jump into our questions. This is our guided conversation about what we've done so far, what we've learned, what we want, all that.
Okay.
So, Annie, how has your imposter syndrome since episode 1 to today, in the last 4 months, like how has your imposter syndrome either changed, grown, evolved?
I truly do not have the words because it's done a 180. I was thinking about this episode 13 with Tiffany Gifford. It just came out, and when Joelle and I were brainstorming content and people that we knew that would be interesting to the podcast, I was like, oh yeah, well, I work out with this girl, Tiffany. And I had kind of like told Joelle, this is, hot across the desk. Joelle doesn't know this yet. I had sort of like acted like I was going to ask her, but I was so scared to ask her. I had so much imposter syndrome about asking her to be on our podcast that I didn't even like ask her until probably a month before she came on. And it was like, I knew I could do it, but I knew I needed to get to this point of feeling less impostery.
What do you attribute that to? Do you just attribute that to the fact that we've done this, or do you kind of like reach back into your sales background and like know you can approach people?
Yeah, well, that was the thing that was really discouraging is I was like, I know I can do this because I've been a seller my whole life, so what's stopping me? And so I think it was like I needed the credibility of having enough episodes under our belt or something.
Sure, yeah.
And feeling like in my own, like in it, like feeling like, no, we have a podcast. Like when we were first starting out, and like I give you so much kudos for the guests that you asked to be on in the beginning, because it's like we didn't have a podcast yet. We had a couple episodes. Yeah. We had a couple recordings in my kitchen. So
I mean, when we asked Nikki and Chris Koulis, like we didn't have anything actually.
Yeah.
We got them to agree before.
Yes. So like the headline here, the byline rather, is Joelle Goldstein, stronger seller than Annie. However,
Stop.
But yeah, that's just a really full circle example for me because that episode just came out and I'm like, gosh, yeah, like I'm so glad I finally mustered up the courage to ask her.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have really come out of my shell.
I agree.
It feels good. And there's this weird phenomenon now where people are listening to these episodes, like friends of ours are listening to these episodes, and they feel like they've had a conversation with us, but we haven't had the conversation.
Yes.
And so even like those like my relationships with people are evolving through this.
Yes.
And I'm feeling less impostery and I'm just feeling more able to be like, yeah, I'm so glad you're listening. We're so excited with what we're doing.
Yes.
Just owning it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say my imposter syndrome has evolved and changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think I came into this like very much like gung-ho, as you know, like I'm going to ask everyone to be on the show. Like we're doing this. Like I'm not saying I dragged you into doing this, but like I feel like I had to build you up a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
To like get you to do the show with me. And then it was a no-brainer once we started like rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
But so I didn't really have imposter syndrome like going into it, but now my imposter syndrome is like, is anyone listening? Like I know people are listening because we see the metrics, but my imposter syndrome is unless we get feedback, like I get texts, I get DMs, but unless I get those, I'm like, people didn't like it or people didn't, and that's not necessarily true. I listen to podcasts all the time and I'm not DMing the podcast host every single time I like it, but we're so new and we're still so grassroots with how we get our episodes out there that I kind of feel like I need that validation from people.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Right? Like I need the validation from people to be like, I loved this episode. This was my favorite part or whatever. And then I also have this weird imposter syndrome, which I'm not going to name names.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or just like I'm in my own head that people who I thought would be listening are not
Okay.
in my life.
Interesting.
And that's just something I have to get over because it's like it's so self-serving of me to be like, oh my God, I'm surprised like that person didn't listen. I thought they would, or they'd be more supportive of this project or
right.
And then it's like, of course, like everyone's got their own shit, like an hour a week. Is a lot or whatever is a lot of time to dedicate to someone to a podcast. But that's again, I'm not faulting anyone that I'm friends or family with. Yeah. I'm just kind of being honest about how it's circled back to how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so crazy because I feel like I've gone in kind of the opposite direction. So in the beginning, because you sort of, you know, the way I explain like our friendship and even business partnership is like Joelle is the person who finally makes me do things because I will just sit home and be like, I'm scared. And so you did, like you were like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. And you got me on the couch quite literally. So, but in the beginning, the first like, you know, probably 10 episodes, I was very like, I need feedback. What's going on? Does anybody like it? Like hitting people up even like, did you listen? Did you like it? And then I got to a point, I don't know what happened, like maybe episodes 11 on where I was like, okay, I just feel really comfortable in what we've put out. And like, I'm not hearing things consistently either. And I'm like, that's okay. So isn't that interesting?
Oh my God, the teacher has become the student and vice versa.
Is that so fascinating though, how like our experiences have taken a different, like, it's not linear. Imposter syndrome isn't linear. And so it's been very different for both of us.
Sure. Yeah, that's absolutely how it's been. And I'm sure it's evident to you because anytime someone sends me something nice or even that I screenshot it and I send it to you.
Which I do love. Yeah. I'm like, yes. Which I guess maybe let's take a minute to plug, like, that is we're going to get to goals in here, but like one of the big things that we want more of is just engaging with the listeners in general. And so we do want to encourage y'all. It doesn't have to be a compliment. Trust me. I mean, I know my love language is words of affirmation, but like just send us any feedback.
Feedback.
DM us, email us. We're going to put that up in our socials, but it's Great Imposters Podcast on Instagram. Same with Gmail. We dropped the. I already made this joke in our previous episode, so now I can't make it again. Damn it.
Yes, you can. Keep making it.
We're like Facebook. We dropped the. Yeah. Thanks. So please interact with us.
Yes.
We want to hear from you. I hate saying that.
We want the one-way conversation to be two ways.
Yeah. It's like when someone says like, my door's always open.
Yeah.
We want to hear from
Our
you.
door is always open.
Our door's open.
I love it. Okay, so what have we learned?
That this shit's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like trying to do it on our own in the beginning with the setup. Like DJ Dex, you have tapped into such a valuable thing, being a producer with the kind of knowledge about audio and the expertise that you have, because getting these started on your own is like
it's really hard.
It's so hard. You have to be like like what are they called? AV nerd?
Yeah, an AV nerd.
Yeah.
So Annie and I would literally do episodes, and then like our stomachs would drop because one of the microphones wasn't loud enough, and then we had to do surgery on on the audio, and we were like, oh my God, like I can't. So I think, that it's definitely hard to manage on your own. So I'm so glad we added Declan to the mix to do our audio and video. And I mean, what do you think about it being hard from the standpoint of having conversations like the body image episode and that kind of stuff? Did you think that that? I know that was hard for you.
Yeah, it's draining. It's like going to like 4 sessions of therapy. Like I feel physically drained after we record, not in a bad way. Like, no. But just like, whoa, I'm tired.
Yeah, the come down. Yeah, for sure.
Because it's really hard to be like on.
Yes.
Literally on camera and on just like persona wise.
Right.
It's fascinating. I have learned that. Like even my husband has said like, oh yeah, on days you record, you like kind of you seem like you need like a little space. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah.
And I think actually what have I learned? I have learned about myself that like I am more of an introvert than I think I give myself credit for.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'm one of those like, there's a term for them now because there's a term for everything, but it's called an ambivert.
Oh, I was going to say an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, same thing. So somehow they combined those and then came up with ambivert, but that doesn't really make sense.
Because you need like your space. And
like I can like do the things, do the social things, do this, but then I need my come down.
Yeah,
you know?
And you put your phone away.
Yeah.
And I know that because you take forever to text me back and it pisses me off.
I do. And Joelle and all of my friends know I've had a weird relationship with my phone the last 6 months as I come to this conclusion of being an ambivert where I'm like, oh, I get really overwhelmed by being reachable all the time. And I suck. Some people can do it better than I, but like I just can't multitask anymore. I think it's like being out of the corporate world. My brain doesn't wake up every day like ready to be so
that's
stimulated.
No, I think that's true though. It's like, I mean, even when I was out of work for 6 months, I got less done. I'm not to like shit on your productivity,
that's
but like,
happening.
I was like, I got less done because I didn't have a job.
Yes.
Is that weird?
Yes. And my husband and I just had a conversation about it last night, which ties into what we're going to talk about with goals. Yeah. Because we had like a come to Jesus about me because I'm coming up on a year of leaving my job.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Oh my gosh.
All right. I never, So I've learned a lot.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
That was a nice spoiler for maybe 30 minutes in, right?
Yes.
What I've learned, I think I'm going to go back to the imposter syndrome, is that I am so deeply dependent on getting feedback.
I think that you've found your areas of imposter syndrome
for sure
doing this.
Yeah. Well, also that there's like, I have this tie into like, if people don't listen, do they not care about me? Which I know is not true.
But it's hard not
to like think like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had people in my life too that weren't listening, and in the beginning I was very like,
yeah.
Why?
Yeah. For sure. So that's been something I've learned about myself. Also that I think my years of being on social media on my own has trained me to be more comfortable with speaking into a microphone and looking into a camera.
Oh yeah, you're really good at it.
Well, but I genuinely think that, like, if I remember before, I forgot what episode it was. It was the body image episode, when you were like, I don't even watch these clips because I hate the way I look. Like, I don't like the way I look either, but I'm so used to it because I've had to get really used to it.
That's happening, actually. That's happening as we film more of these episodes. Yes. Now I can finally watch them back because I've just like adjusted to being able to see myself on camera.
Yes.
So,
and I mean, I've said on this podcast before, but I'll say it again. I started my social media page where I was talking into a camera, which is so fucking embarrassing if you've never done it before.
It's like just unnatural.
It's so unnatural. But now it's second nature to me. So,
yeah.
But I started that in 2020. It's 2024. Wow. So I've had a lot of practice at looking at myself, and speaking.
Yeah.
So I'm quite okay with that, which I'm really glad because that's been nice. So I think if we were to take that question in a different direction too, like what have we learned from all of the guests that we've had or the conversations we've had? I mean, I think some of the conversations we've had with guests are so stimulating. One of the most surprising ones I think was going back to the Chris Coolis episode was like finding his imposter syndrome as a professional musician. Like that to me was still one of the most like profound moments of the podcast because we literally like, I feel like we pulled it out of him a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Like I have learned something unique and also something similar from every guest, which is that every person does suffer to some extent from this imposter syndrome. Like we're all human in that way. But it's been like having, 12 tiny mentors. Like it's been like, they're not physically tiny. They're actually like really big deals.
Human sized.
They're normal sized.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's like you're sitting down for like a mentorship with them each time. And some of them have been people we know personally. And so you reach these levels of conversation with friends that you don't have on a daily basis with them.
Right.
Like I think about the Miriam episode, like some of the stuff we got into, I'm like, oh my God, I never asked her about like what random jobs did she have in Nashville in the 80s and 90s. Like that's so interesting.
So interesting.
Yeah.
And I felt when we talked to something that keeps coming up in my head, when we talked to Nikki, let me say this, two different things in that episode, Nikki Burdine, was when we talked about the Covenant shooting and her having to cover it, how much imposter syndrome she had about crying on air.
Yes.
Because she's like, this isn't my loss technically. Like that was crazy to me.
Yes.
And then how obviously I learn from you all the time, but even when you said something like you came up with on the spot, the imposter syndrome of grief. Yeah. That was such a mic drop and so poignant because it's so true. It's like when you lose a friend or something and people are apologizing to you, you're like, oh my God, don't apologize to me, apologize to their family or to whatever. Like that's like a whole world in itself. And I remember that was like, to me, that was such a cool conversation. And we could go on, I don't want to single too many, we could go on and on.
Yes.
About every guest we've had, but the learning experience has been tremendous.
Yes.
And we're only getting started.
And how to effectively interview is a learning curve. Like
totally.
Our interview, like with our, the ones in the beginning were much clunkier than now when we can kind of figure out like what we need to tease out of a guest.
For sure.
But we all had, let's get it out. We all had a huge learning experience with Vanessa.
Yeah.
We had to re-record we had our first re-record because like we learned about ourselves, like our minds have to be fully here.
Yes.
And we have to make our guest feel a certain level of like wanting to be vulnerable.
Yes.
So that was huge.
That was huge. That was clunky. And we did like another thing to know is like me, Annie, and Declan had like a kind of a awkward, uncomfortable conversation in our friendship.
Yes.
And that had to be had.
Yes.
For us to grow out of it.
Annie 6 months ago would have never been able to do that. I would have been like, it's fine. Yeah, no, it was fine. It was fine.
No, I'm really glad we did because like communication is everything and you have to have hard conversations in order to grow. And I'm so grateful for that growing pain we had already.
Me too, guys.
I know.
And now we're all going to get drunk at lunch together next week.
I know, I'm so excited.
Well, maybe not Dax, but it's like he can watch like his aunts get drunk. It's just going to be like...
We're going to be Declan's drunk aunts.
Drunk aunts. Oh my God.
Okay, let's talk about setting goals.
Oh.
So one thing I've brought up to Annie, and we wanted to do an episode on this, but we're kind of just like weaving it into this episode, is setting goals. So Annie and I have both been career-long sellers, and one thing that you have to do as a salesperson is set goals, and usually you have to be vocal about them because if you're an individual contributor, which we both were, I still am, you are reporting up through many levels of management, and then usually that management is reporting up through reporting mechanisms that like ultimately dictate like your stock.
Yep.
Right. So it's not like you're forecasting your sales just for shits and gigs. Like it actually matters.
Yeah.
So, from my standpoint, I've always been incredibly timid and shy and underselling myself with goals. And let's take it out of career. Let's just say it's weight loss or something.
Okay.
If you want to be like, yeah, I want to lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds. I would never tell anyone that. I would always just kind of secretly talk to myself about it. I don't know if that's a bad example, but I'm just trying to think of something relatable.
Yeah.
Where putting your goals out there is just, there is a level of imposter syndrome in it because then you're held accountable.
Yeah.
Then people ask you about it.
And they give you their opinion on it.
Exactly. And you don't want to do that.
Yes.
So I do think there's this inherent part of goal setting that feels really uncomfortable. And that I just never, even to this day, don't like to put it out there. So we're going to conquer some of that today.
Yes.
We're going to set some goals here on the podcast.
Yeah.
Publicly. And now you will all know.
Yes.
So you can DM us and be like, yeah, how's that goal
How's that
coming
goal
along?
going?
Yeah.
I know. It's fascinating because I was actually kind of the opposite in my corporate life. I would set really big goals, and then because it was a job, I would be like, okay, I can meet them, but I've never been able to set any types of goals in my personal life.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much any. Sometimes I'll do this thing where I'll go back and be like, yeah, that was a goal of mine to start a podcast.
Yeah,
it's
you
which
retroactively.
no, wasn't?
Yeah.
I retroactively
Yeah.
give myself credit for reaching a goal.
Oh, funny.
But then in my career, I was big audacious quota, cool. Or I think we've all learned, especially as women, goals correlate to expressing what you need and want. And so you have to
Sure.
set the goal of I want to be promoted by this time
Yes.
for people to pay attention.
Absolutely.
And I never had an issue doing that. But then it would come to my personal life and I would literally be even if it came to my kids, I want them to learn to swim by the end of the summer. And then I would be well, I mean, it's not really working out. And so what is that? It's the weirdest phenomenon.
I think there's this inherent fear
Yeah.
in especially women
Yeah.
that if you put something out there, it's just this fear of failure. At the end of the day, I really do think it's a fear of failure. But
Totally.
I think what I've learned also is that it's okay to not reach your goal, but if you've made progress on it, it's not a failure.
Yeah.
That's actually okay. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me about that. And and you know what? I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah.
Because it's true. Progress is okay, so you either don't set goals and nothing happens, or you set a goal and you fall short, but you still made progress.
Shoot for the moon and you'll land amongst the stars.
That's kind of what I was thinking of saying. So yes, there we are.
My husband and I had this tough conversation last night because I've been a little bit in a funk this week because I'm coming up on a year of having left my job, like I said, and I'm starting to I was feeling this kind of oh my God, I've done nothing, or oh my God, I thought that I would be back in the corporate world, or oh my gosh, I just feeling a lot of doubt, or retroactively feeling I'm not getting enough done or enough accomplished. And so we had this really vulnerable conversation last night where I was am I contributing enough? Where are we? Call it sometimes we call them State of the Unions. It was kind of a State of the Union. And my husband's one of those people who, and maybe it's just men, I don't know, but who sets goals every day. He sets a goal every day, and every day he meets it. He puts the plans in place to meet his goals, and then he just meets his goals. It's infuriating for someone like me.
Robotic.
It's he was I'm going to stop drinking caffeine by next week one time, and then he just cut caffeine out. He's just one of those people, and so I was I want you to help me set goals, and not only do I want you to help me look back and recognize things that I have accomplished, because that's where my imposter syndrome comes in, where I'm an imposter right now of I've done nothing in the last year, when it's no, you have. And all parents should remember that any step you take to just be more present for your kids is reaching a goal or an important thing. But anyway, so I had that conversation with him of I need you to retroactively tell me things that I've accomplished so that I'll believe them. And I also need you to help me set goals. Okay. And then of course he was great, a goal to set goals. I fucking love it. And then he was well, you need to read this. And I was I'm probably not going to read these books.
Yeah. No.
Just help me.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely.
Okay.
So so we went through the exercise of setting goals for the podcast, which is a little bit of manifesting too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit us with one?
Well, no, I meant we did.
Oh, you and I. I thought you meant you and Andre. I'm oh, what did you guys?
Oh, no. With the goals with Andre were more we're going to come up with them. We're going to have a second State of the Union to come up with goals.
Great. So let's use that as our transition to what are our goals for the podcast.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me go first.
Okay.
The big one for me is having more of a two-way conversation, like I said earlier. I want this to be interactive. And I think we've done a good job with the surveys of making it interactive.
Yeah.
But I want to like hear more from our listeners on topics or types of guests that they care about and what they want us to cover. Like,
I have such a good idea.
Okay.
This is coming to me live on the podcast.
Live.
If you don't, should we start a Facebook group with our listeners? Because that's how I met that group.
Yeah.
Like if we have a Facebook group, I feel like it's a central place.
Yeah,
for
let's try it.
We should try it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're listening to this, I'm probably we're going to find you.
Yeah, we're going to
invite
imposters.
you to, because we do want like that feedback that, how'd you feel about the episode? Do you have ideas for more episodes? Like we want that community.
Yes.
And I think that does start in a Facebook group, or if you have another idea, shoot it over.
Yes. I want to hear ideas for sure. Feedback and ideas. Like, I want to hear what people have to say. We also want to kind of crowdsource like guests. We want to hear.
Yes.
Yeah. If people are like, hey, I have, what's an example? Like, hey, my wife is a female orthopedic surgeon and that's like extremely rare. You should interview her. Like, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Which sets up another more kind of tactical goal of we want to get our remote set up.
Yes. So right now we are limited to Nashville, which is very vast and fabulous.
Yes.
But there are definitely people throughout the country and maybe one day the world that we really want to interview as well. So we need to figure out, that's another goal for the podcast for season 2, maybe 3, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
Is to figure out our remote setup.
Yep.
So that we can have more of those interviews with people outside of Nashville.
Yes.
So that's big. Yeah, I think going back to what Annie said, yes, having the two-way convo, I think would alleviate my imposter syndrome that I expressed earlier. And also, I think it would just enrich the community and create a space to actually have a centralized conversation about the podcast. And that would be so great for us and for the listeners. My other goal, and this is me just being very blunt and upfront, I want more listenership. I want to, and that is going to come naturally with growth and hard work and all that.
But I want to grow.
We want to grow. We don't know. We're not going to give you a percentage, 100x. We want to grow 100x. We want so many people to listen to this. We want to reach people. We want to just spread, and not only for the obvious perks that come with that, but also just because that's, we're putting this out there. Why? That's the goal, obviously.
And because we've heard, people have said really, we're probably subliminally on some level narcissists because we started a podcast anyway. But also we have heard people say, I listened to this episode and this story was so impactful to me. And that's what we want to do. We want to reach more people.
We want to reach more people. And with more people comes more criticism. I know that.
But I think we're ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah. We had our first little trolling
We
situation.
did have a trolling situation. We're not going to bring it up, but
yeah. So we're ready.
We're ready.
We're primed.
We're primed for the trolls. Bring them on.
And yeah, I want this. I've fallen in love with this format. Dex always says, I love potting. And I love potting. I love this. I love interviewing people. I love getting, connecting with people like this. So I want this to be a livelihood.
Me too.
Let's say it.
We want this to be a livelihood.
We want this to be our livelihood.
We want to make money on this platform.
That means money.
That means money. We need growth. But I feel like money will be the result. Growth is the goal.
Yes,
money is the result.
Yes, I think learning, improving is the goal.
Yes.
Growth, because we want people to hear these stories that our guests are sharing, and then eventually it would be it would be the full circle moment of Annie getting next stand-up comedian in her high school yearbook, but them fucking it up and actually putting next talk show host instead of stand-up comedian in the yearbook. It would be the full circle manifestation of that dream, I guess.
What was that, episode 1 you told that story?
No, it was later.
Oh no, it was later. We were on the couch.
Yeah.
That was I love that story. It was such a telling.
It was so wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, my high school yearbook screwed up and accidentally put next talk show host. So there were 2 pictures that said next talk show host, but me and Isaac Cohen actually had been voted next stand-up comedians. And as you all know from this journey, I want to be a comedian or a comedic writer, but spoiler alert, that plays into one of the questions we're going to ask a little bit of what I've learned about myself kind of in that.
Okay, I'm excited to hear that because we haven't Annie and I, by the way, did not talk about this prior. Like, we're learning about each other's answers on the fly.
Because you can still learn about your friends.
You can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. So I'll say one of my personal goals is, well, I'm going to relate it to the podcast and to this.
Okay.
Annie and I have been close friends now for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. We've definitely morphed a little more into like, we talk about the podcast all the time.
Yeah.
And we need to like just go to dinner. Like,
yeah.
Like we do need to like nurture our friendship more, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that. Because I feel like,
agreed.
You know, like we are so like, you're such an important like part of my life, and I don't want to like just get used to the fact like, oh yeah, because we record every week or we record every other week. Like that's not hanging out.
Yes, we need.
It's a different form of hanging out.
We need some time to like talk shit about our husbands.
For sure.
Yeah. No. Just kidding, guys.
Yeah, JK, love you guys. It's okay. Chad doesn't listen. Love you, Chad.
Yes, I agree. We need to make sure, because it's hard going into business with your friends. And this is why. Because you end up spending, it goes back to the quality time love language.
Yes.
Like while this is a different type of quality time, it's not friendship quality time.
And we are going on a girls trip at the end of the month with two of our other friends. And I think that'll be so fun.
That will be so fun.
I'm so excited. Another personal goal that I have is it's funny because Vanessa just left us. We just recorded her episode before this one. And I really need to find a way, it will probably end up involving Vanessa, of taking care of my kind of like, I have low bone density, like osteoporosis runs in my family. So I really need to start finding a way to lift weights in a way that feels good to me. And I really do think she can help me with that.
Yes, for sure.
So that's a personal goal, is to like actually like find a way that like strength training doesn't make me want to die inside.
And you had said like when you did it before, you felt like you were like bulking more than like.
I was bulking.
Yeah.
I did not like the way I looked, and I didn't like the way I felt either. Like it was just not for me. Like I really, and I'm not going to get rid of my Pilates and my bar. Like I love that stuff, and I shouldn't have to. But
and that's what she would say. She would say like
totally
do multiple modalities.
Yes. Yeah. I need to incorporate strength and resistance training though regularly and safely.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've had anyone help me with that. And that's the thing. You can't do that on your own.
No.
You can download a Pilates app
and do it.
Safely. You can't do that with strength.
No.
So that's why I think it's hard. And that's definitely a personal goal of mine.
Love it.
Yeah.
Personal goals for me. So I'm going to write my tight 10 for comedy by May 31st.
Have you worked on it?
Yes.
Okay.
I've started embracing the life of God, I can't finish that sentence.
Say it.
Of a creative person. But no, I've started embracing the life of like, I stop and write down the things that come to me on my phone or in a notebook now.
Yeah.
Because I realize like that's just what you have to do, because you'll forget them, especially when you have like 3 little children like, feed me.
Yeah.
So I've been writing down jokes and bits and ideas. I'm going to write it by May 31st. I'm also going to launch my writing Substack. I haven't set a hard date. I guess I need to set that hard date. But I have enough writing now where I feel comfortable launching it, that I have like a backlog where I'm not going to be like needing to come up with something creative when I have weeks like I did last week where like all the kids are home sick and there's no creativity happening. So
you need to launch that.
Yes.
Because direct feedback is like, just do it.
Just do it. Okay.
Like what we do here.
Just do it.
Just go. You have it. You have the backlog.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to launch that.
How about this afternoon?
Let's set a date. I'm not doing it this afternoon. How about tomorrow? I'm pretty much busy until after Olive's birthday. So how about by next Friday, I launch it?
I'm going to
by our boozy lunch.
Yes.
I will have launched it. I'm
right.
screaming.
Great.
Okay. So doing my tight 10. And then personal. Okay. So here's where I really struggle and have my whole life is I am so reluctant to ever set like physical goals.
Yeah.
But I am going to lose 30 pounds.
Wow. You put a number on it.
I put a number on it.
Okay.
Like a good, healthy, safe number that will put me in like better, what's the word? Like
health standing.
Health standing. Yeah. Get the metrics. Cause it's like I've shared, in the body image episode, I'm very healthy.
Yes.
But you have to, there's just like certain numbers and check boxes sometimes that make your life a little easier to say like, okay, cool. Now these numbers are all lining up to what like I know about myself.
Are you making that a time bound goal, or you're just going to give yourself like kind of grace when it comes to the timing of it?
I'm giving myself a year.
I think that's super doable.
Yeah, because they say, right. Because they say like, even losing like a pound a week is acceptable. But so that way I don't have to go.
But that's going to taper off it when you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then that way I don't have to go at that clip because
Sure.
like, I really
you might lose 2 pounds a week and then 0.2 pounds a week. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And I really like croissants.
Ugh, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Have you ever met someone who doesn't like a croissant?
No.
Fucking losers.
Totally.
I have one more personal goal.
Okay.
And maybe it's Annie inspired, but I do need to spend an hour a day with my phone away.
Oh, wow.
I'm on my phone all the time. And I feel like when I do that sometimes, I feel like I miss so much shit that was like I missed calls that are important. It's like, it always re-inspires me to get back on my phone. But I need to put my phone away for an hour a day. Maybe more. Start with an hour.
And then I would say like, yeah, because I've been doing that. I guess that's when Andre and I go back to my retroactive accomplishments, that'll probably be one of them. Like Annie, you have reduced your, whatever metric you want to use, but like you've reduced your screen time or you're not as on your phone all the time. But the other one that's made a big difference is like at least 30 minutes before bedtime, don't look at it. Oh. Which is so hard because I know.
That's the hardest.
It's really hard. And I've done it the last like 2 weeks consistently. And I've slept way better.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. That's like my mindless.
I
like,
know.
Not even scrolling on like TikTok or Instagram. That's like my mindless like shopping.
Yes.
Oh, that's like my comfort.
Yeah, I know. And then what's funny is like when I first left my job and I was then like just going on my laptop and doing that stuff and like making myself believe that like if I was shopping on my laptop, it didn't count as like shopping on my phone. And then I finally had to come to the terms that
it's the same thing.
Still counts.
Same thing, bigger screen.
Same thing, more items per row.
Right, exactly. Oh my God.
All right, let's do the fun one.
Let's do the fun one.
Because we've now manifested that we want this to be, a livelihood because we're so passionate about it. So who's your dream sponsor?
Okay, so I thought about this and you can take this question in a lot of different directions because I think the obvious choice, if you know me, would be something beauty related. Mm-hmm. But I will say I kind of get those on my own already. You know,
right?
Like,
yeah.
So it's like point. I'm not needing. Don't get me wrong. I would love it. Would love it for us. But I think about the things I really need and would like to promote are like furniture companies.
Yeah.
Like Article does like a lot with podcasters or design for like online design firms because I'm not great at making a home. I'm not a great homemaker.
You don't think so?
No, I know so. I'm not.
Okay.
I would love a sponsor who is like a home, like something about the home.
Yeah.
That's something I lack and I could actually experience it and then feel really comfortable, like quote unquote, selling it to our listeners. And
that's a good like natural sponsorship for a podcast because it's like you're sitting in your home recording and listening.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
So I would love like a millennial style direct to consumer brand to reach out to us and offer to do our homes.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Also, like obviously anything fashion related because I love I don't get free clothes and I would love to get free clothes.
That would be so cool.
That would be so cool.
Someone I know who gets a lot of free clothes was like, I very rarely like end up wearing them, and I was like, I can very confidently say that I would wear them all
if I liked them. Yeah, but I feel like you'd probably get to like choose.
I think you do.
Yeah.
They say like, do you want this like black denim or denim? And
oh my God, a denim company.
Oh,
Good American.
God.
Good American. They do a lot of sponsorships.
That'd be so great.
That would be great.
Okay, dream sponsor. This question was really hard for me because at first I wanted to go like really deep, like I wanted to be like a BetterHelp. Have you heard?
Totally.
They're all over the podcast space and we would love them.
We would love them too. Yes.
But like I wanted to go there of like, because all of that like therapy and all of that has helped me so much.
And we talk about it a lot. So it's very natural segue. So they're one that would be awesome. But then when I go like, we're like the opposite, right? Like when I think about like getting sponsored by something that I use all the time and that costs me a lot of money, it would be Hourglass Cosmetics. Oh. They don't really do it, though. No, they do.
They do?
They do. They used to. I don't know if they still do.
Okay.
Hey, Hourglass.
Yeah.
We love your stuff.
So that's like my dream because I'm obsessed with every single one of their products. And every single one feels like a tiny luxury.
It is.
Like the packaging, everything about it. And I have found like every time I find like their concealer is like my ultimate favorite that I've ever used.
Yeah, it's excellent.
So Hourglass would be my dream, like make me feel really special brand.
Yes.
And then I'd love like a BetterHelp or even like Audible or something that kind of practices what we're preaching of like, go get yourself therapy, go get yourself some resources and help.
Or like AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca, right? Yeah.
Let's just get big pharma in here.
Novo Nordisk, a bunch of different big pharmas would be great. Actually, let's be full circle right now. The ultimate sponsors of this podcast would be
Zoloft and Lexapro.
Yeah.
100%.
And now I have personal reason to also really, really believe in Wellbutrin. So
Yes.
I think
They're all great.
Wellbutrin, they're all great. Any of them.
Drug companies, our ears are open.
This is already unofficially sponsored by Zoloft and Lexapro.
Very true.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. Oh my God. Can I show you guys something? I was thinking about another spot. Wait, hold on. I'm going to get up. Actually, Dex, so I don't have to move. Will you hand me my water bottle? Okay.
Because hell yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with these Owala water bottles. I think they're the best. And they're also awesome for kids because they're not as easy to spill and whatever. Okay. But I learned this recently. Did you guys know, Joelle has one too. Did you guys know that they're called Owala because it sounds like koala? Because when you drink it, you look like a koala. You look like a koala. It's a koala nose.
That's
Get
so
excited.
cute.
Get more excited.
Woo!
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
That's why they're called Owala. So Owala,
We are available.
we're available.
Wow.
Okay.
That was cute. Okay, this one came in from DJ Dex. We didn't prepare this. We did not prepare this, but Declan wants us to ask each other who was our dream guest.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to go first?
I can.
Yeah, you go first.
I think we actually do have, I don't want to spoil it, but because it's still insane to me, but we do have one of my dream guests coming on.
Yes.
And we're not going to say who because, I don't know, just in case anything happens. I would say another one of my dream guests would be Jared Freed.
Oh.
Because he's so fucking funny. I've been a fan of his. I peripherally know him because I've been a fan of his for since he started. So I used to go to comedy clubs in New York and when he was first starting out. And he is just such a good podcaster. He can talk to anyone about anything. He's so good on a mic. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I listened to so much of his work. And I do think he has he could speak to imposter syndrome on such a really cool level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be, and he's just so good at what he does. I would love to podcast with him. That would be my dream guest, I think.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. And he's hilarious.
Yeah. My dream guest would be Mindy Kaling. She's my hero and my inspiration, I would say. One, because I feel like she has that story of being an average person who worked really hard at their dream and accomplished it.
Yeah.
She is behind all of the funniest things you've ever watched or seen and even read, because she's an author too. She's behind them in some way. Obviously she's on The Office, but she writes all the best episodes of that show.
Yeah. She's a very unique talent.
She is a unique talent and she's exactly what I want to be.
Yeah.
Exactly what,
she's kind of your idol, huh?
She's my idol. Yeah. And I just love her, and I think she's so funny, and she's such an amazing writer. And then my other one would be someone we both love, which is John Mulaney.
Oh my God.
He's my favorite comedian by far.
We're a big John Mulaney fans.
Huge fans. And I love his last stand. Why I love him is his vulnerability of talking about rehab and addiction.
That was both hard and amazing to watch.
Yes, and
that's
what I love. I love the juxtaposition of trauma and humor.
And you're kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that. And so he's my other hero, I would say.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But he would probably be but it's funny because he's not he's kind of an awkward interviewer.
Yes.
So it would also be challenging.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he'd be doing bits and shit and we'd be wait, are we okay?
Is this a part of, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yes.
Those are great. They're out in the world.
Da-na-na.
They're out in the world. Make it happen. Okay. Last question we got.
Yeah.
Favorite or most interesting feedback that we've gotten from the podcast? We love feedback. Love.
Have we said it? Have we made it clear enough yet on this episode?
Yes. Love. There are so many amazing things that people have said. I've thought of two.
Okay.
That just come to mind first. One is that I had a gal I know reach out, and she sent me a voice note, and I sent it to you also. And it was how amazing our friendship is.
Yes, our chemistry.
Yes, and just how we listen to each other and how we work together. It was the way she said it. A lot of people say how good our chemistry and our banter and like whatever is, and how we kind of support each other. But the way that she worded it was really, really a unique compliment. It just like, I think it was listening to our anxiety episode that she said it about like just listening to you listen to each other is like almost like enviable and that's like, what a nice thing to say. Like
a few people have said that kind of thing and how rare that is.
Yeah.
And then when I thought about it after you sent me that voice note, which like also changed my life, it is true that a lot of female podcasters are solo.
Oh,
a lot of podcasters, period, are solo.
Yeah.
But
they just have guests. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes women don't do the best job of like passively and actively listening. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we are inherently sometimes competitive with each other. And I think our guests and our listeners sense right away that we're not doing that to each other.
Right.
So that was a really powerful
compliment and observation. The other from that same episode is that how many people reached out to me about our conversation about anxiety. And I could not believe how many people were like impressed with the vulnerability. Because to me, I'm like, oh, like I'm super comfortable talking about it because I feel like everyone's a fucking mess now, like, and talks about it. But I guess there are still people that are women specifically who are like you and me, who have contemplated and battled their idea of going on some type of medication to just like, like we always say, take the edge off. And our conversation from start to finish about our entire journey with anxiety helped people make the decision to check it out.
Yeah.
That to me was like tremendous.
That's like my life's mission, I feel like at this point now, is like reduce the stigma and encourage people to take the leap because it will change your life.
Yes.
And so that was so powerful to hear that like being vulnerable was impactful in that way.
Agreed.
Yeah. God, I agree. The anxiety episode was kind of a turning point, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I have so many here, but
I know.
The most interesting feedback that I have actually gotten a few times, and it came out mostly after the body image episode, was good friends of mine, mostly listeners who know me really well and don't know Joelle. So maybe they're like childhood friends or people that live somewhere else, have said like, I know you're funny, Annie, and you know you're funny, but like on the podcast, you're not that funny. You're actually really deep. The whole, like every episode, you're just like really fucking deep. And you and Joelle, going back to the chemistry piece, they were like, and you and Joelle provide a great chemistry because like when you're getting really deep, Joelle will come in with sort of a levity or like an ability to bring it back. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, and in the writing that I do, that's sort of the premise, is that like I'm this person who identifies as funny and who wants to, pursue this comedic career. But at the heart of it all, I'm just like there's a lot of sadness behind every funny person.
Always.
And a lot of like, I don't like the word trauma because I think my trauma is so light compared to like obvious traumas. But like, that's what I was going with the juxtaposition with John Mulaney and stuff. Like, that's the most human experience is like having to have both. Like,
yes,
really like vulnerable things you want to talk about, but then also like the lightness of humor. And so many people have given me that feedback of like, yeah, I love listening to it because you're actually like, you're not just diffusing everything with humor. You're actually getting deep and like, you're not that funny on the podcast.
Yeah.
One of my best friends was like, you're not that funny.
I'm not going to be able to walk out of the door frame of this apartment because my head is so big. Hearing that people think I'm funny that don't know me.
Yes.
Like that is.
Yeah. Like people are like, Joelle's like my friend who's very honest with me was like, yeah, she's a lot funnier than you on the podcast. And I was like, wow, you're right. I'm like, yeah. So I think what I've learned from the feedback I've gotten is that like my passion truly are these deep conversations.
Yeah.
These deep topics, these like deep connections with people. This is what I love doing.
Yes. We love it.
We love it. Another piece of feedback I just want to say, because I think hopefully this will be relatable, but like, you know, there's someone in your life that like their feedback, you hang on every word.
Yes.
For me, it's my dad. And when he first, is so funny because when he first listened, you know, the first episode or so, he was like, it's cool. You know, you were pretty quiet. You need to turn your mic up. And I remember just being like, going back to like young Annie of like, fuck, okay. I'll do better, Dad. You know?
And the juxtaposition of my dad.
Yeah,
that was
Joelle's
so funny.
Dad was like,
my dad is like the sweetest, like he's so good with words. And he's like, he wrote us this review.
Yeah.
That was just like so, it was like, you and Annie are just, the banter is so good. I'm so proud of you.
I can tell you're having fun.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
So Joelle's dad's paragraph was like, you know, this long. And then my dad was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I can't hear you. And I was like, wah, wah. And then he, and then after, like a couple weeks ago, he went back and started listening again. And he actually listened to our 4th episode, which is about the imposter syndrome and making friends. And it's a very female-focused episode because we want to do, in season 2, we want to do like the male friendship episode. But it's a episode arguably for women.
Sure.
Or catered to women. And he listened to both of them, 4 and 5, all the way through, and called me and was like, you guys are doing such a great job.
Aww.
And I was like, thanks, Dad.
Mark.
And I know, thanks, Mark. But what was so special about that was, 1, he listened to episodes that didn't pertain to him.
Yep.
And 2, I got to be like, well, that was before we even were working with Dex and stuff. So like, keep listening because it only gets better.
Yes.
And so now I'm just hanging by my phone,
Aww.
Dad. No, but
yeah,
that was so special. Like,
that's really sweet.
There's always someone in your life that you're like, even if you don't know it, you're trying to like impress them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it was him, I guess.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. And also
cute.
Dex's mom.
Oh my God. And Dex's mom. Yes. She
Dex's
became
mom
our
is a
first
fan.
YouTube subscriber.
Yes.
I'm also
What's your mom's name again? Linda. We love you, Linda.
God, such a good Midwestern name.
I know. We love her. All right. Well, that I guess wraps it up for season 1. We have you guys, like, not to be too teasy, but just get ready. We're going to have such a good season 2. We're going to take a couple weeks off to regroup, make it just like tighten everything up, make it really, really good for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. While we're on break, please go back, listen to old episodes. And again, we're going to ask you guys, please subscribe, rate, review on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
We have, like, that's actually just, I guess we're learning about the podcast industry. That's how you, like, grow.
Yep.
In the eyes of sponsors, in the eyes of, like, being recognized. So if you enjoy this, please do that. And it means a lot to us.
Yes.
So find us, again, socials are Great Imposters Podcast, TikTok and Instagram. We're going to make a Facebook page. We're going to try that route. Great Imposters Podcast at gmail.com. Write us all the things. And I guess.
And send us your ideas for season 2.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And then we will, watch our socials to figure out when our next one will launch, but we'll give you all a heads up.
We will. Well, this has been Joelle.
This has been Annie.
See you in season 2.
Bye.